gift from Easter Seal.
Excitement. Chinook wins casino on the beach in Lincoln City.
What? Sandra Bullock's nude scenes and Zena's sexy shoot on ET.
A dangerous and widespread band of winter weather marches on and on. Ice, snow, and sleet, enough to disrupt air travel and the U.S. government. An SOS from the sun. Scientists find this S shape predicts massive solar explosions that could affect your life. New concern over drug-resistant superbugs entering the human food chain through animal feed. And coming to America from Central America, orphans and refugees of the monster storm Mitch.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. The La Nina-generated winter weather that began out in the deep Pacific is ending with a bang in the Midwest, East, and South. A huge late winter storm, biggest of the season, is sweeping ice, snow, and freezing rain into what has been a typically dry La Nina winter for these areas. CBS's Bob Orr reports the storms are dangerous, deep and wide, and on the move.
The late winter storm packed a surprising punch. Countless schools were closed. Highways were clogged by accidents and nervous drivers. And air travel snafus were the norm. The storm, born on the Midwest plains, draped a 1,000-mile blanket of snow from the Great Lakes to the eastern seaboard. Nearly 10 inches of snow fell on Chicago, canceling more than 600 flights at the city's airports. Even in a city that routinely shrugs off winter storms, the March snow took a toll.
I'm absolutely exhausted digging myself out.
Yeah, I'm ready for spring.
It was no better in Ohio. A conga line of snowplows struggled just to keep the interstates passable in Columbus. And those planes that were moving took off on slush-covered runways. The storm also hit hard along the mid-Atlantic states, a region that has enjoyed 2 consecutive winters with little snow. In Washington, more snow has fallen today than the total amount that had fallen in the past 2 years.
Area roadways have been littered with accidents.
Rush hour lasted virtually all day. Ronald Reagan National Airport was obliterated by a curtain of white. Government workers were sent home early. And on Capitol Hill, the Senate closed up shop and the House canceled roll call votes. About the only one moving at a decent clip was the mailman. Just a little bit of a challenge for you today?
Oh, yes, it's very heavy today, more than what we thought.
It was also more than the weathermen had thought when they predicted a light snow.
And sometimes things just happen. The weather isn't a perfectly predictable thing. You can't predict every single storm every single time just the right way.
But despite this mess, the weathermen are certain on one point. Spring begins in 2 weeks. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
There are new facts, insights, and remarkable pictures tonight about the Earth-Sun climate connection. Massive solar eruptions equal to billions of nuclear explosions at once are heading this way, and now, thanks to modern science, there's a way to predict them. It turns out that S marks the sunspot. CBS's Sandra Hughes shows you the solar sizzle and what's at stake for you.
What could be the storm of the century is brewing millions of miles out in space on the surface of the sun. And when the fiery explosions called coronal mass ejections reach Earth, they could wreak havoc on power and communication systems.
You know, it's somewhat similar to like a very large hurricane hitting the entire North American continent at the same time.
When the storm hits Earth, it tears through the magnetic field and can knock out power supplies and fry the insides of satellites.
The force is equivalent to 1 billion megatons of TNT.
And if you've been worried about what Y2K, the Millennium Bug, will do to the nation's power grid, this could be worse. We're at the beginning of a peak sunstorm season that comes every 11 years. Last time, the sun belched out a coronal mass ejection so strong that when it walloped North America, it cremated the power system in Quebec, Canada.
They went from normal system operating conditions to complete blackout across the entire province in an elapsed time of about 90 seconds.
And a smaller storm is being blamed for bringing down the Galaxy 4 satellite last year, turning some television transmissions to static and knocking out pagers across the country. NASA scientists today said they think they found a way to predict this. A simple letter S marks the spot of the superstorm before it explodes. The S is called a sigmoid, a twisting of the sun's magnetic field.
We have here a tool which we expect will be very useful for forecasting the conditions in space weather.
Which means a few days' notice. But experts warn that a force like this may still be too much for our technology-dependent society to prepare for. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Los Angeles.
President Clinton's Central America tour moved on to Honduras today. The president highlighted the role of the U.S. military in relief and reconstruction in the wake of Hurricane Mitch's mass destruction 4 months ago. This included U.S. military help in rebuilding a major bridge in the Honduran capital. The mud and flood of Hurricane Mitch are long gone, but the stream of illegal refugees bound for the U.S. is getting stronger. They hitch rides on what they think are freedom trains to the U.S., only to find themselves on wheels of misfortune, as CBS's Bill Whitaker found on assignment in Guatemala.
If poverty alone compelled most people to pull up roots and emigrate, Tecún, Guatemala would be a ghost town. But residents of this dusty crossroad on the Mexican border aren't on the run. They're being overrun by thousands of migrants from neighboring countries fleeing worse, the devastation and despair from Hurricane Mitch. I'm Honduran. The hurricane took our houses. It took everything. It left Maria Rivera homeless and jobless in El Salvador. 2 weeks ago, she, her aunt, and 2 small children joined the trek north. I'm looking for new opportunities in the U.S., a better life for my kids, she says.
The dream, America. Yeah, the dream. It's the Americans.
Father Adamar Barilli runs a shelter for migrants here. On the wall, their American dream in Technicolor. There's a human storm surge north, day and night. More than 2,000 passed through the shelter the first 2 months of this year, 3 times more than last year. It's a desperate, dangerous journey. Who's been attacked so far, we asked. Almost all of them. Still, the next morning, they crossed the river into Mexico for the most perilous part of the journey. Bandits in Mexico prey on the migrants, raping, robbing, killing them. It's the rare traveler who passes unharmed. A machete-wielding gang attacked Herman Rodriguez and his brother. He went after me and cut me with the machete, all the while biting and hitting me, he says. He almost lost his finger, and he doesn't know where his brother is. They're risking their lives to reach this northbound freight train. It's the magnet drawing them to this dangerous place. They swarm from hiding places, run to jump on and claim a perilous perch. Human cargo piled on, hanging on. It's hot and it's dangerous, but this is the goal, to hop this train north. 15 days, 1,300 miles, the length of Mexico to the border. Gateway to the United States, with its jobs and its hope. But smiles like this don't last. At each stop, they run from Mexican immigration agents into the woods where the gangs are waiting. If the gangs or police don't get them, the train may. An 18-year-old man fell beneath the wheels of the one we were riding. Back at the shelter, Maria Rivera says she can't go back and fears going on. I'm afraid we won't make it. That's a calculation desperate Central Americans are making every day. With recovery from the hurricane expected to take years, it's likely more and more will decide this hellish trip is worth it. On assignment in Tecún, Guatemala, I'm Bill Whitaker.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Chinese spies and poor security at U.S. nuclear weapons laboratories, fears about antibiotics in the meat you eat, and a blockbuster movie that could storm the Kremlin walls.
Tylenol House Call. Information for healthy living.
Recently, you may have heard about new prescription medicines for arthritis pain called COX-2 inhibitors. The first one just became available.
I think I heard something about it on the news.
If you have the potentially crippling form of arthritis called rheumatoid arthritis, which just over 2 million Americans have, check with your doctor about this new drug. But if you're one of the 20 million with common arthritis, what should you do for the pain? Talk to your doctor. For most people with common arthritis pain, the first choice of arthritis experts is the medicine in Tylenol.
My arthritis, it really bothers me.
This new COX-2 prescription has not been shown to relieve arthritis pain better than Tylenol, and no other type of pain reliever, prescription or over-the-counter, is gentler on your stomach than Tylenol.
I don't want to take a prescription if I don't need one.
So if you have arthritis, talk to your doctor. Tylenol may be the right choice for your pain.
Tylenol House Call is brought to you by Extra Strength Tylenol.
Do rich people have more friends than the rest of us? Are they more deserving of a comfortable seat? Are they more entitled to brake safely on a rainy day? Are we the only car company that doesn't think so? Century by Buick, full of amenities for under $20,000.
And right now, Century is an even better value. Come in today and get $750 cash back on every new 99. Century by Buick, a luxury car for everyone.
There is more information tonight about stolen U.S. nuclear weapons secrets getting into the hands of China's building military, and how the U.S. government's ultra slow-mo investigation did little or nothing about it for years. CBS's Cheryl Atkinson broke key parts of this story starting last Friday. Tonight, Cheryl has the latest follow-up.
At home in Los Alamos today, Wen-Ho Lee, the government computer scientist fired for alleged security violations, was not talking. Lee worked in this building at the weapons lab. Energy Department officials claim he was involved in passing nuclear secrets to China, including design plans for America's sophisticated nuclear warhead, the W-88. His colleague and neighbor, Don Marshall, doesn't believe Lee is a spy.
Could be making a scapegoat out of him, and, you'd be really worried, I think, if you were in his spot.
And law enforcement sources tell CBS News they believe the real culprits are still unidentified and possibly still working at weapons labs. Representative Christopher Cox has just written a classified report on Chinese espionage.
You feel certain, even with the firing of Mr. Lee, that there are still problems today at the labs?
Unquestionably, there are problems that remain at the national laboratories that need to be addressed, and urgently so.
Example, vital information about Los Alamos employees like Lee is available to anyone on a website. An Energy Department security official calls that frightening and identified other continuing security threats. Foreign nationals from places like China have access to the weapons labs, sometimes unescorted. U.S. scientists making unsupervised visits to other nations. Cybersecurity. Laptops are allowed in and out of the weapons labs, and thousands of emails daily largely go unchecked.
The Energy Department insists it's making dramatic security improvements, but Congress remains unconvinced and will begin hearings next week. Dan?
Cheryl Atkinson in Washington. Straight ahead here on CBS, a weak link, a possible one, in the food chain down on the farm. Could a super strain of drug-resistant germ sneak in and make you sick?
When I went to Firestone for MasterCare car service, it was the day before my vacation, but they wanted to make sure everything was right, so they worked past closing time so I could leave for vacation on time.
We guarantee to fix it right, or your money back.
For itchy patches of dry winter skin, moisturizers can't always cut it. Try new Cortisone 10 Plus.
Among these, only Cortisone 10 Plus has 10 moisturizers, plus the power of Cortisone 10 to stop itch and help heal.
Try new Cortisone 10 Plus.
Sorry I'm late. I was at my doctor and... Oh, did you ask her about the things you've been reading about menopause? I did. She said...
It's important to consider menopause and the consequences of its associated estrogen loss.
You mean like hot flashes? Hot flashes and night sweats, but other things too, like vaginal dryness. It can interfere with intimacy.
And osteoporosis. I know that menopause increases our risk of fractures.
Dr. Hartman also said...
Studies show that menopause contributes to heart disease in women. Additional ongoing studies are investigating the connection between menopause and Alzheimer's disease, colon cancer, blindness, and tooth loss.
I had no idea. My doctor and I decided to stick with a program we've agreed on for years. I should speak to my doctor.
When considering menopause, consider the entire body of evidence. Speak to your doctor about what you can do to help protect your health during and after menopause.
Does your ideal job exist? Find out. Visit techies at coin.com.
There's a major study out tonight in the Journal of the American Medical Association contradicting a long-held belief about diet and cancer. This 14-year Harvard study of almost 89,000 women found no evidence a high-fat diet increases a woman's breast cancer risk or that a low-fat diet cuts the risk. Still, most researchers believe a low-fat diet is good for your heart and for preventing other diseases. When it comes to the health threat of bacterial superbugs that antibiotics can't kill, federal health researchers are now looking to new ways to try to stop them at the source. One possible threat to humans may start in livestock feed. CBS's John Roberts has the facts on the fears of a food chain threat.
For years, scientists have warned that the widespread use of antibiotics in animals would one day cause problems in humans. And now it seems those problems have come home to roost.
There is a connection between drug use on the farm and resistant infections in humans.
Antibiotics are fed to livestock to prevent illness and promote growth. With chronic use, bacteria can become immune to the drugs and be passed on to humans through eating undercooked meat. A recent Centers for Disease Control study saw resistance in 12% of deadly E. coli 0157 found in beef, 34% of Salmonella, and 86% of Campylobacter, both of which come from poultry. Most disturbing, some Campylobacter, which causes intestinal infections, is already resistant to quinolones, antibiotics that were supposed to protect us for decades to come.
The pipeline of new drugs has been relatively dry. So at least for the next several years, we are in a critical period where we have to prolong the effectiveness of the drugs we already have.
To do that, the Food and Drug Administration is revising the rules for the approval and use of antibiotics in livestock, possibly even banning certain drugs if they're also used in humans, a step Europe has already taken. But some in the livestock industry feel the proposal goes too far.
Herds and flocks of poultry will be less healthy. That will lead to more losses for the producer as well as less healthy animals going into the food supply.
Better controlling antibiotics in livestock only addresses half the problem. Their improper use in humans is just as big a threat. And unless more is done to control the spread of resistant bacteria, we could be right back to where we were 60 years ago, when there were no antibiotics. John Roberts, CBS News, New York.
And now, look at yonder coming down the track. It's the Acela. That's the name Amtrak has given to the new high-speed trains. We got our first peek at them today. They're designed to speed passengers between Washington, New York, and Boston at up to 150 miles an hour. The first Acelas, a name which Amtrak says means speed and excellence, are due in service later this year.
All right, kid. Here we go.
10-9.
What do you got? What do you got?
What?
Yeah.
All right, come on, come on.
What would you do if someone you loved had a heart attack?
Yeah!
Did you know it's now been proven that the same Bear aspirin you have in your bag for muscle aches may actually help stop you from dying if you take it during a heart attack?
Downtown. Lucky shot.
Can your pain reliever do that? Talk to your doctor now.
Next time I'll go easier on you.
Bear, powerful pain relief and so much more.
Want a biscuit that's bigger? Try Pillsbury Grand's biscuits. They're our biggest biscuits.
Big? Why, they're huge.
Big, delicious buttermilk biscuits that are light and fluffy. It's a taste your family will love.
They're not just big, they're Grands. Woohoo!
For a hearty taste, try Golden Wheat or Golden Corn Grands.
No matter where the good times take you, you've got it handled in the quick and nimble DeVille. With its 275 horsepower North Star system, standard traction control, and MagnaSteer that makes parking a breeze and gives you a real feel for the road. Right now, the good times start at your Cadillac dealer, where you can get a 1999 DeVille for only $499 a month. DeVille, for the time of your life. Take control at your Cadillac dealer.
I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places that this heart of mine embraces all day through.
Have you seen Transitions lenses lately? Indoors, the changing tint is clearer. Outdoors, they're the darkest Transitions lenses ever. For all-day comfort and convenience, Transitions lenses, right in any light.
I'll be seeing you.
Visit our website or call 1-877-4-TRANSITIONS.
Wednesday on 60 Minutes 2. Why hasn't Warren Beatty said much about love, fame, or his famous sister? Because he hasn't been on 60 Minutes 2, but he will be Wednesday.
CBS News correspondent Jim Stewart has learned that a U.S. government task force investigating possible fraud charges against the tobacco industry has been disbanded. Various sources tell Stewart the chances of indictments now are, quote, virtually non-existent. In an atmosphere of heavy lobbying and political contributions, government agents had been investigating whether tobacco executives lied when they testified to Congress that tobacco was not addictive. On the CBS News Market Watch, RJR Nabisco plans to sell its international tobacco operation and spin off its domestic tobacco business into a separate company. And Japan's Sony Corporation plans to cut 17,000 jobs from its international workforce. Another company that has laid off thousands of workers is Citigroup, a banking and insurance outfit. But even as the workers were sent home, the paychecks of the top bosses grew fatter. As CBS News business correspondent Anthony Mason reports tonight, that is causing lots of anger.
The financial giant Citicorp and Travelers celebrated when they joined hands last spring.
We're very excited about what we're putting together.
But last year was not an impressive one for the new company. Citigroup, as it's now called, laid off 10,400 employees, 6% of its workforce, as a result of the merger. And citing disappointing earnings in a disclosure filed yesterday, the company acknowledged 1998 was not a good year. But did the CEOs, Sandy Weil and John Reed, suffer? Well, take a look. Weil and Reed were each awarded $9.5 million in salary and bonuses. As founders of the new company, each was also given $17 million in stock options. And Mr. Weil cashed in other options to the tune of another $157 million. In Judith Fisher's opinion, it's
total excess. It's beyond the pale.
An executive compensation consultant, Fisher says this kind of corporate pay is out of control.
Too many corporations are paying too much compensation with just a callous disregard for shareholder value.
In fact, some angry Citigroup shareholders have already proposed establishing a cap on CEO compensation. The company is opposed, of course. So what is reasonable pay for a CEO?
Reasonable pay is when you don't wince when you hear the numbers.
Citigroup defended its CEOs in this statement tonight, saying their compensation was tied directly to the tremendous shareholder value they have created. But last year, Business Week ranked Mr. Weil among the country's most overpaid executives. Looks like he'll be a candidate for that list again. Dan?
Anthony Mason. Tomorrow, here on CBS, we'll give you a look at a serious health accusation against another giant U.S. corporation, workers suing IBM for diseases they say were caused by toxic chemicals in the workplace. Straight ahead on tonight's CBS Evening News, the man who could be Russia's Ronald Reagan.
Catch the wave of extraordinary savings. Be progressive. Call 1-800-AUTO-PRO. And remember, buckle up.
Nancy will have to see from near to far almost 1,000 times today. Her eyes will focus on 40 labels, 60 charts, and 100 smiles. And in all that time, she'll never once think about the science that allows her to focus instantly at all distances. Nancy just knows that her Verilux lenses help her see better. And for her, that's a very comforting thought. Verilux, the comfort of better vision. For more information, call toll-free 1-800-VERILUX.
I became interested in working in the brokerage industry when I was very young. I went to Harvard. I majored in economics. We had a last trade at 59 and 7/16. That was down 4 and 3/16 on the day. Throughout my life, I've had to work hard and had to focus to get where I am, and I'm going to bring that ethic to my job here at Schwab. Charles Schwab, Adam, 122998. Anytime you have a company that's been this successful at Schwab, obviously the employees are driving that, and I hope that I benefit Schwab in their growth and in their success, and I will.
2009 Mitsubishi Eclipse GS Sports Package. Now available with 0.5% APR financing.
Want to color your gray beard or mustache and look natural? Get Just for Men Gel.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
Brush in and in 5 minutes, gray is gone.
No one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
On the CBS News Presidential Campaign Watch, promising better schools and higher moral standards, former Tennessee Governor Lamar Alexander today declared himself a candidate for the Republican nomination. It's his second try, this time wearing a suit and tie instead of the plaid shirt he wore in 1996 when he failed badly after finishing third in New Hampshire. Russia also has a presidential election next year, and the race there is at least as wide open as here. The potential candidates range from former Soviet politicians to a Hollywood-style movie personality. CBS News Moscow correspondent David Hawkins has the scenario.
It's a love story about a romance between a Russian military cadet and a brash American woman.
You won't get into trouble.
Not at all. Set in turn-of-the-century Russia. And it's Russia's first big-budget blockbuster, The Barber of Siberia, a $45 million movie. It may also be the world's most expensive political campaign ad. The buzz in Moscow is that the film's director, Nikita Mikhalkov, is a contender for the Russian presidency.
All the Mikhalkov for president talk may just be a Hollywood-style publicity stunt, but it's not all that far-fetched. He's perhaps Russia's most famous director and actor, sort of a cross between Steven Spielberg and Ronald Reagan. Mikhalkov's last movie, Burnt by the Sun, won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Film in 1994. And he's dabbled in politics before, starring in campaign ads for Boris Yeltsin. Nearly everyone agrees that at least he looks the part. In Barber of Siberia, Mikhalkov plays Tsar Alexander III, but he scoffs at the suggestion that his next big role will be president of Russia. I'm famous enough, he says. They're trying to pull me into politics. That's not interesting to me at all. Mikhalkov may deny any political ambition, but his leading lady, Julia Ormond, says that while shooting on location, it was clear that Mikhalkov already has a lot of political clout.
The mafia turned up to demand money for using the locations, and he went away and made a phone call, and 20 minutes later, a whole load of tanks arrived to move off the mafia.
That's just the kind of guy many Russians yearn for as president. Someone who will knock heads, restore order and dignity to the country. But it's unlikely that Russia's political power brokers would ever agree to play supporting roles behind a President Mikhalkov. That sort of thing only happens in the movies. David Hawkins, CBS News, Moscow.
And that's part of our world. We hope you make an appointment to see 60 Minutes 2 tomorrow night here on CBS. For tonight's CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online, at keyword CBS News. Did make